Presentation of the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame Induction Ceremony is brought to you in part by...
At NextTech, we're about connecting and providing the best solutions to help the communities that we serve thrive. Now, after more than 70 years, we continue growing to serve you. We are community, we are connectivity, we are NextTech.
Kansas Sports Hall of Fame, class of 2025, Larry Brown. Tim Jankovich. Representing J.C. Louderback, Jay Louderback. Bob Lutz. Mark Mangino. Kendrick Maple. Bobby Randall. Laverne Smith. Deb Phil Tornaden. And Clifford Wiley. At this time, we welcome the Executive Director of the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame, Richard Konzum.
We gather here this morning to honor our 2025 class, recognize our previous inductees. We're here to listen to their stories, learn of their journey that led them here to the Sports Hall of Fame. At this time, I welcome Board Chairman Jim Dunning, who will make the plaque presentations, and also Linda Hargrove, our board member and class of 2007 inductee, who will present a message to our class.
I don't know how many of you were here last year when we had the induction ceremony, but you had the wonderful treat of having Billy Mills welcome the 2024 class. And you got to see this video of him when he came back in the 64 Olympic Games and won the 10,000 meters. It was so exciting. I couldn't believe how exciting it was. Well, you won't see a video or anything of me here as I get ready to welcome you. But I am very excited to have the opportunity to do that. I was a small-town Kansas girl from Udall, Kansas. Udall was a town of about 500 people that its claim to fame was that it was basically wiped off the map in 1955 with a F5 tornado. But at that time, there was very few opportunities for girls to compete in sports. It was an era where it just didn't happen. I had a principal in high school and my baton teacher's dad who took an interest in my athletic ability, and we found our way. We started a track team. We had an opportunity to find competitions, and we just did what we had to do. When I graduated from high school, I had a national record in the hurdles, but very few opportunities to continue my career in sports in college. So at that time, my dad said, why don't you go down to Cowley County Community College and get something started like you did when you were in high school. And back then, you did what your dad said. So I drove 30 miles south to Arkansas City and helped start a track team. It was the early days. We just had to fight for everything. It was before Title IX, and the president of the college there hired me to start the women's sports programs at Cowley. It was a time of just fighting and clawing to get things done, and it was exciting to finally see some strides being made. It was kind of fun being at the very beginning of opportunities for girls in sports, and now watching the popularity and respect that we see in the women's game. In May this past year, my company, Pro Hoop Sports and Events, took Caitlin Clark back to the University of Iowa, and we sold out a preseason WNBA game in 34 minutes for 16,000 fans. My call came from the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame when I was the GM with the Washington Mystics in the WNBA. And I can remember being so excited and humbled to get that call. I knew a lot of the former inductees. I didn't know James Naismith, but I knew he had been inducted. James Naismith, Fog Allen, Glenn Cunningham, who actually spoke at my 8th grade graduation, Billy Mills, Adolph Ruff, Gail Sayers, Ralph Miller, Lynette Woodard, who I coached in USA basketball, Bill Snyder, Jim Ryan, Tex Winter, Jackie Stiles, who I drafted and coached in the WNBA, and Barry Sanders, just to name a few. It was unbelievable to me to get that call to be included in that group. I've always been really proud to be from Kansas, and I received the pinnacle of sports when I was a coach in the 1992 Olympic Games, and then retired from coaching in the WNBA for 10 years. But this honor, the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame, was just something special. On behalf of the board, I'd like to welcome the class of 2025, a group that has molded Kansas sports to what it is today. And please know that your Kansas roots, connections, and success have been noticed and are now recognized by the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame. Congratulations.
Linda, thanks for those remarks. I want to introduce our other board members quickly. In attendance today, John Barker, Taylor Brait, Chet Coupland, Kathy Hannes, our treasurer, Larry Brittigam, Candace Dunback, you guys can stand, Lee Ice, Kevin Jenks, Ron Schlaymaker, also an inductee, and the voice, Gerard Welbrock. And now please meet today's moderator and our board vice chair, Jeff Bolig.
Well, good morning, good afternoon. Thank you, everyone, for coming. We appreciate all the families, friends supporting our inductees. I am the least important person here, so I'll get through this very quickly. We've changed the format from the past. If you're here last year, we started doing a question and answer session. The inductees told us that released stress from them tremendously, not having to do a speech. And so I know they'll enjoy that. We're also fortunate to have the person doing the interviews to be an inductee, number one, and number two, does interviews for a profession, and that was Bob Lutz. So Bob Lutz will be doing the conversations, but we need somebody to interview them. So Gerard, we're going to bring you in from the bullpen for some short relief. Get up here and we'll have you interview Bob. Now you have a few zingers for him, right? Yeah. Turnabout is fair play, as I look. So, okay, so let's get started. Bob Lutz was a reporter, columnist for 45 years, 42 years with the Wichita Eagle. Also did a radio show for 24 years, including 9+ with his son, Jeff. Jeff here today? Awesome, great show. Bob also was the creator and leader of League 42, an inner-city baseball program in Wichita named after the late Jackie Robinson. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce our first Hall of Fame inductee, Bob Lutz.
Bob, congratulations. Tell us about when you got notification, got the call that you're going to be inducted. What did that feel like?
Well, first of all, I had no idea that the 5-hit shutout I threw against campus in 1973, my senior year, would get me here. So really happy about that. It's a thrill. I am a Kansas sports historian. I fancy myself as that. I know a lot of these athletes that have preceded me, and it's just a tremendous honor. And to be going in with this class with so many outstanding individuals. Laverne Smith was a senior at Southeast the year I was a senior at Derby, and followed his career very closely. And I look forward to interviewing these people after Jared interviews me. I did a lot of research, called these people. When Jeff Bullock called me to say, you're going into the Hall of Fame, there was one condition. Will you do 9 interviews? So here I am.
Well, I appreciate you doing the 9 interviews. Obviously, you had an outstanding career in Wichita at the Eagle as a sports writer and columnist. Any particular events that maybe stand out in your mind that you've covered over the years? I know it's kind of a tough question because you did it so long and for so well.
Yeah, I just loved my job. You know, I loved whether it was covering a Final Four or covering a January high school game. It was all fun to me because I love sports. I loved sports as a kid growing up. I'd have to say the 2013 Final Four was Wichita State. My son was part of that coverage, and Wichita State went to a Final Four in 1965. We didn't necessarily think another one was in the offing. So when they made it in 2013, and you're working for the hometown paper, it's kind of exciting.
What about any individuals that you've interviewed or got to know that you've covered in your career?
All 9 inductees into this class.
Great answer.
You're the top 9.
And you mentioned you've done a radio show, and for a long time you've kind of made that transition. You're in the paper industry, and then and you got to work with your son. That had to be very special to have that show. And for folks who had a chance to listen to it, it was a phenomenal show.
Yeah, I've been in the media a long time in Wichita, to the point where I'm sure many Wichitans are sick of me, and so we stepped away from the radio show in February. I'm still doing League 42, obviously, and it means a lot to me, and I know we'll talk a little bit about League 42. Can I just thank a couple people here? At this table is my family, my son Jeff, his wife Shannon, their daughter Erin, my wife Debbie, who is my savior. Thank you, Debbie. My very good friend. Let's save the applause for the last. No, I'm kidding. My very good friend Harold Bouchard, who was a contemporary of mine at the Salina Journal, had become a very good friend of mine. And then what I'm really excited about is there are 2 young people here today with me, Gael Cisneros, Jeremiah Guillot. If you 2 would stand up, and I'll tell you about them here in a moment. Stand up and say hi to the crowd.
Welcome.
So when League 42 started back in 2013, we tried real hard to put together a league, and we came up with 16 teams. And I told myself that I was going to start with a T-ball team and coach them all the way through when they were 14. And on that very first T-ball team, these 2 young guys were a part of that at 5 years old. 2 years ago, they graduated from League 42 as 14-year-olds. And for me, it means a lot that they're here today. They exemplify kind of the second chapter of my life. So I'm very happy you're here.
Thanks for coming, guys. And I'll conclude with this. Talk about League 42, the inspiration, because that's been just a tremendous program for baseball in Wichita and youth.
I've got a bunch of friends over at this table. They're out on parole. Thank you, guys. And they'd heard me talk about it. I worked with a bunch of them at the newspaper at the Eagle. A guy named Gary Carr is the one who really stoked these flames. Because every time I talked to him, I said, I got this idea, what do you think? And he, of course, said, you got to do it, do it, do it, do it. And we had that conversation for about 20 years. And eventually, at the age of 58, I decided the time was right. We started down the path, got a bunch of people on board, and fortunately, we're now going into our 13th year with League 42, 600 plus kids on 46 teams. So it's really a point of pride for me.
Going to say,
Yes.
you've had a great career in the media, but I'm guessing you're just as proud as this of anything you've done. It's such a great program.
Yeah, I've had a charmed life, except for my previous marriages, but we won't get into that. I've had a very good life. I met Debbie at the right time. Don't laugh at that. That was not meant for laughter. But yes, I've had a charmed life. I've had a career I loved in the newspaper business, and then I'm doing something I'm passionate about beyond that.
Well, congratulations. We are certainly glad to have you here, and welcome to the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame.
Thank you very much.
Bob Lutz, everyone.
Congratulations, Bob. Thank you, Gerard. Heck of a job. Our next inductee is Tim Jankovich. Tim was a two-time All-State basketball player at Manhattan High, runner-up to Darnell Valentine for Player of the Year. And if they hadn't done the leg competition, Tim, you probably would have won it, right?
There's my sheet of paper there.
He went on there to Kansas State, led the Wildcats to 3 NCAA tournaments, and upon graduation, embarked on an outstanding coaching career, including serving as an assistant for Larry Brown, Lon Kruger, and Bill Self. He was a head coach at Hutchinson Community College and SMU. In his last year at SMU, he earned American Conference Coach of the Year and was runner-up for National Coach of the Year. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our next Hall of Famer, Tim Jankovich.
Welcome.
Some things are better left unsaid, Bob. I just want to say that.
We won't go too deep into your life, I promise. Here's what stands out about Tim, besides his tremendous career as a coach. I think you want to hear about his time as a player and what he did to become the player he was. I'm going to ask him about that. But first, I want Tim to have the opportunity, as I want all of our inductees, to thank the people he wants to thank.
Well, that would take several hours, and I don't think you want me to do that. But I do, first of all, want to thank the Hall of Fame committee for giving me this incredible honor. When I got the phone call, we happened to be at a professional tennis tournament in California, and I can promise you there was no tennis after that. My mind was kind of blown and very emotional about the whole thing, and something very unexpected. And then I dug into it a little bit more. I thought I was about as emotional as I could get. I dug into it more, and I looked at the class that I'm going in with, and I looked at the people that have been before us and the whole list, and I can't believe I'm being included, and I'm very, very, very honored, so I'm very thankful for that. I have to start with my wife. She was very easy to fall in love with and very difficult to fall out of love with. And I've tried a lot. I've tried many times, but being a coach's wife is probably one of the worst jobs you could have, and she's been amazing over the years. She's sacrificed so much. When I would come in and say, hey, we're moving again, and she'd just pack up and make a new life. So she's been amazing. Maybe the most meaningful, I guess if you say thankful, meaningful thing that's ever happened. This is one of them, and obviously playing and coaching. But having a son, my son Michael, couldn't be more proud of him, and tremendous inspiration to me because I wanted to be a good example, and there's nothing that I've enjoyed more than being a father. So beyond that, maybe I'll sneak in more, but I am incredibly thankful. We have a big group here that's just south of the size of the Louisiana Purchase out there, okay? There's a lot of people, family, extended family. The person that I've known there's one person in here I've known my entire life, and that's my brother, and he is maybe the best person I know. He's the most giving, hardest working, and the most supportive person that I could ever possibly have. And so from the time when I was, 5, and he's hitting me in the head with baseball bats, to the time that I was in coaching and all that, he's been incredible. So I have to start there, but at the same time, and I know I only have limited time, but the people that have come here, they're all my family. They're guys I played with in junior high, grade school, high school, college, friends for life, and extended family, and the fact that you all came here means the world to me, so I'm very thankful. I do also have to say, and I'll be short, you can't be any luckier than I've been. I had amazing teammates in high school and college. I had amazing coaches, Jack Hartman, Lon Kruger. I had incredible teachers and bosses, which I'm going to say real quick, in order. Lon Kruger, Jack Hartman, Bob Weltlich, Boyd Grant, Gene Iva, Eddie Sutton, Kevin Stallings, Bill Self, Larry Brown were my bosses. If you could imagine, no one has had better schooling than I had, so that was incredible. I've worked with great assistant coaches on my staffs, and of course, have had outstanding players that allowed us to win the games that we did. So I guess that's it. I could go on and on, but I won't. And I know that, I hope you know that how much I appreciate all the people that have supported me for so long.
This job's going to be easy. So when we talked, you mentioned about being a basketball gym rat, and that completely fits who I thought you were, because you loved the game, you loved it for a long time, and you were willing to, let's say, just do some misdemeanors to make your love of basketball work. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, I will say this. I don't think anyone, I'm pretty sure no one has ever loved basketball more than I have loved basketball through my life. Certainly there's been better players and better coaches, but no one loved it more. And there was no happier place for me growing up than to be in a basketball gym. My idol at the time was Pistol Pete Maravich, and he was at a camp I was at, and he said, you need to practice 7 or 8 hours a day. And I'm like, okay, I'm in. If that's what I got to do to be like you, I'll practice 7, 8 hours a day. And I had just enough ADHD probably that I could do that, and I would just stay there all day and all night with big dreams of what might be ahead. But, sometimes you can't get in a facility, and luckily, and I hope the statute of limitations has run out, but I did learn, I'm proud of this, one of my greatest achievements in life is I did learn to break in the outside of our high school. I learned to break into the gymnasium of our high school, and I learned to break into Kansas State's basketball gymnasium, not the field house, but the gymnasium. So I had 24/7 access, and all I needed was a hanger, a key, that I put and some masking tape. And so that was my crime lab. Never was caught. I believe I'm safe now. I don't think I can go to prison for this, but I did. I lived in a gym, and I loved living in a gym, and I probably spent more time in a gym than I've, maybe bed is first and the gym is second, but I loved it, and I also can't believe, because when I did get this call, it made me feel like a kid again, and I thought about what I was thinking when I was a kid and how many dreams and how much time spent and how much work and hoping that all these things could happen. And I was a dreamer, and not all of them came true. My bar was too high. I never could hit the bar. It was always moving, and so I was always chasing something. But I tell you what, so many of them did come true, and it was all through basketball, even family and friends and all that. And so I just look at it, you don't know anyone more grateful for their life and the choices they've made than I am. I don't think you'll ever meet anyone that is happier with the way things turned out.
Well, thank you, Tim, and congratulations. You're in a place where you belong, and you've had an incredible career as a player and a coach, and it's wonderful to have you in the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tim, and congratulations. Our inductee is J.C. Louderback. J.C. could not be with us. He just celebrated his 92nd birthday on 91st on Sunday. He's back home in Ark City. But his son, Jay, is with us, along with several other family members. J.C. influenced thousands of people as an athlete, teacher, coach, official, and administrator. But tennis is really where the Louderback family became well known. In 2002, the USTA named the Louderbacks the Family of the Year. Accepting the award for his father is Jay Louderback. Jay played at Ark City for his father and went on to play at Wichita State. He later coached at Wichita State, Iowa State, and ended his career at Notre Dame. Please welcome Jay Louderback.
Your father accomplished and has accomplished so much in his life. He's sitting down in Cali County right now. What do you think he's going through his mind?
Well, when I got the call from Jeff Bowling, he hadn't been able to get a hold of Dad, and he called me and told me that he was being inducted. And I was in Ark City at the time, went over, said, Dad, I just got a call from Jeff Bowling, the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame. And he looked at me and goes, congratulations. I said, no, that wasn't me. It's you. But I'm sure he is. I know he's very excited to be, and I have some, he said to read from him. He was happy that a lot of his family's here, was able to get here and help celebrate this. And he'd like to congratulate this year's inductees on their amazing accomplishments and careers. And he's excited and proud to go into the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame with such an illustrious class. And he said he couldn't have accomplished all he did without the support of his sweet wife, Donna.
Very nice. So tennis became such a big part of the Louderback family, throughout your family. How did that happen? How did tennis become such a mainstay for you guys?
Well, he played all three sports from 7th grade through college: tennis, basketball, and football. And when he got to Ark City High School, he went as a math teacher, and he started off there. He coached all three. He coached football with the high school, basketball with the high school, and then also he had junior high, high school, and junior college tennis. And as he went along through his career, he started refereeing more and more. And so he ended up having to drop out of coaching basketball, cut back on football. So tennis in the spring and all summer was what he did. And he started all of his high school players in the recreation program in Ark City. He'd start them at 8 or 9 years old. His high school players would help with the young ones. So he had them help, and he had a lot of kids that went through there that ended up going to college, playing college tennis. And he loved tennis. He loved competing. He played in the summer. He played his age division, 35 and over, 45 and over, all around the Midwest, and just everything about tennis he loved. And when I was there this last winter, we were looking at talking about the Division I kids that he produced, Ark City, and there were 14, which is,
wow.
It was amazing, yeah.
Yeah, Ark City had a juggernaut in a lot of sports.
Yeah,
at that
but
time.
For a while there was tennis and wrestling.
Yeah. You mentioned when we talked that your dad had mentors, and one in particular stands out to me because I got to know him when he was the head of the Kansas State High School Activities Association. Tell us about that.
Yes, that was Bryce Durbin, and Bryce was his high school basketball coach. And when Bryce was with the Kansas High School, he was helping with some of the colleges the conferences around, bring in younger referees to help out and to get into the refereeing in college and football and basketball. And Bryce called him up and thought he'd be an unbelievable referee, and just knew him from coaching him in high school and what he had done in refereeing and officiating high school football and basketball. And so he got him in, and Dad ended up in the Big 8 and the Missouri Valley for years.
Was there a count on how many games he officiated?
Well, he had one year, he told me he had 65 basketball games. But he would maybe be at Creighton on a Tuesday night, drive back, he'd be in his room an hour before school started helping anyone with math, and then 3 o'clock he refereed a 7th grade game.
And the highlight game of his career stands out.
He
Tell
did.
us
He
about that.
he had some really good ones. A lot of KU, K-State basketball and football. He had one year. He had the Oklahoma-Miami football game when they were ranked 1 and 2. But his big game he loved that he did, 1996, was the Army-Navy game. And it just the pageantry, the cadets marched in. They were both sides of the stadium screaming, yelling. The game was intense, but fair. The kids were unbelievable. And before the game, they had a really nice dressing room for them. And they were getting dressed. Someone came in and said, "You guys are going to have to switch. We've got to move you to another dressing room." Said, "The President of the United States is coming through, and he's going to need the dressing room." So they got all their stuff together, walked outside, and Bill Clinton walks by him. President Clinton went by him, but that was the game that my mom went out with him to that, and just the pageantry and everything else about that game was so exciting.
Remarkable career. You've had one yourself. You came in from Indiana for this ceremony today. You've been a tremendous tennis coach yourself. I'm glad to get to see you and talk with you, and please send our best to your dad, and
will.
thank you for being here, Jay.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Jay. Our next inductee is Coach Mark Mangino. Coach was elected last year, but unfortunately had COVID, so we're giving your COVID year, Coach. You get to come back. Originally from Newcastle, Pennsylvania, but Coach made his mark in the state of Kansas, helping the Kansas State program in an amazing rebuild. Then he went to Oklahoma, where he helped the Sooners to the national championship, where he is named the assistant coach of the year. And then going on to Kansas, leading the Jayhawks to 4 bowl games, including the 2007 Orange Bowl win over Virginia Tech, where he was named coach of the year nationally and led the Jayhawks to a 12-1 record. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our next Hall of Famer, Mark Mangino.
Mark, it's great to see you. You've come a long way for the ceremony today as well. And in honor of you, some of your good friends from the media are here today. Rick Plumley, Harold Bouchard, Kevin Haskin, many others. You had a real affinity for the media when you were coaching.
Well, at least you brought the good guys.
We did bring the big guys. So what makes you interesting besides your tremendous success at KU and elsewhere in your coaching career? You also coached for Bill Snyder at Kansas State. Then you came to KU, and in between you were at Oklahoma with Bob Stoops. I just want you to talk about those experiences, and especially, coaching at our 2 state schools, our Big 12 state schools.
Well, I having the opportunity to coach at 2 Big 12 schools in the state of Kansas, I consider myself twice blessed. They were at the right time in my career. I was a young assistant at Kansas State and didn't know anything. I was just trying to learn all I could and work hard and try to keep up with Coach Snyder, and nobody can do that. And then from there I went to Oklahoma and was delegated a lot of responsibilities there, and that worked out pretty well. But I was able to come back to Kansas. I felt I was ready to be a head coach. So it was a new chapter in my life, and I'm glad it all happened in Kansas. I probably couldn't have put my finger on the map of Kansas before 1990. I'm from Western Pennsylvania, and, we just thought about the East. So when we came out here, it ended up being a great thing for us, and I've had great support now. I'll tell you, I'm lucky. My wife's here with me today. I mean, anybody that's been in coaching knows that marrying a coach, it's a partnership. You win together, you lose together, you smile together, you cry together. It's a partnership. I couldn't have done it on my own. And she's at our table back there, and then our parish priest at Corpus Christi when we lived in Lawrence, Father Mick Mulvaney came. But last but not least, 3 of my war daddies back here played for me at Kansas. 3 wonderful young guys, and they all have got a special story in their own way. And I know we're hurting for time, but they all have interesting backgrounds, how they got to Kansas and what they accomplished at Kansas. And I'm very proud of Daryl Stuckey, who's back there. He's played safety for us, all conference, played for the San Diego Chargers, Pro Bowl special team guy. You got Derek Fine. Derek Fine ended up being one of the best tight ends in KU history. Went on to play in the NFL. Derek Fine, we signed Derek Fine before he ever got to Kansas as a freshman. He was out of Sallisaw, Oklahoma. He got very ill. I mean, very critically ill. We were worried about him. His family was worried about him. And we didn't know if he was ever going to be at Kansas. And sure enough, he asked the late Bill Young, who was our defensive coordinator, he said, will I still have, his mother, I believe, asked, will I still have a scholarship at Kansas if I can't play and just be a student? I said, of course. It's not your fault. Hey, he shows up a year later. He'd been in the weight room. He came out a demon. He was a special teams killer for years for us. And our starting tight end, he just wrecked people in the special teams. And you know the rest of the story. And last but not least, the man he's a living legend in Lawrence, Kansas, and the state of Kansas. My man, Micah Brown. Let me tell you about Micah. These 3 guys got a lot of heart. Of course, I tried to recruit kids with heart. If you didn't have heart, you couldn't make it with us. Micah Brown ran track at Nebraska his freshman year. One of our coaches comes and say, this kid that runs track at Nebraska wants to walk on in football. They said, he can run. And I mean, he can really run. He had track times. So we took him, and walk-on's tough duty anywhere. He walked on, he worked his butt off. Next thing you know, this guy's one of the best special teams players in the league. He's a great gunner. He does all these things. He has track speed. He got one little defect. He's a beautiful human being. He has bad hands. He can't catch. That's the only flaw the guy had. So what do we do in the Orange Bowl? We got a punt, and we're losing momentum in the game, and I decide to call a fake punt. Now, Brandon McAnderson's supposed to throw it to one of our top receivers on the right. Why, I don't know. Micah was playing gunner on the left. He threw the ball to Micah. And the ball was up in the air at least a half an hour. Micah come back and caught a tough ball, ran for the first down, turned the momentum around in the Orange Bowl. We ended up beating Virginia Tech. Micah Brown.
We have to mention, KU wasn't exactly a juggernaut in football before you arrived, nor in the years after you departed. So what did you see? What do you think the 1 or 2 key things that you were able to accomplish that kind of lit a fire in that football program?
Well, I've said this before, and not in a demeaning way. The University of Kansas didn't have much of a football culture. It's a basketball school, and it should be. The guy that invented the game is from Kansas. But, you know, everybody's eggs were in the basketball basket, so to speak, metaphorically. And I took a chance. I'll tell you why I took a chance coming here. I could have been at Oklahoma forever with Bob Stoops. Beautiful campus, great community to live in, close to Kansas City Media Center. And I thought that, you know, Kansas wasn't a poor school. They had resources. I'm not trying to get them to spend it, you know, on football. So when I got here, you know, it was tough duty, but you know what, I'm not complaining. Because you know what I did? I went out and got recruited the toughest, hard-nosed kids that you ever meet in your life. They loved to play football. They took coaching. They wanted to be somebody. They didn't want to be a downtrodden Kansas. They wanted to be a winning Kansas. And you know, you all know that they've built a new stadium, a beautiful place. Coach Leipold invited me tomorrow morning to go look at it and watch practice. But the kids playing didn't build that stadium. Those kids sitting in the back of the room built that stadium. All those kids that came before them. And that's why I'm happy that Lance Leipold is the coach. I'm a big backer of his. I like him. I like the way he does it. He does it tough, no nonsense, hard-nosed. And they will win. He will be successful. And I'm pulling for him because I'm tired of, for over a decade, wherever I went said, you used to be the football coach at Kansas. Yeah. Boy, they stink now. Well, you know, I'm sorry. You know, it's not like I went out on my own, you know. They showed me the door. But now you can't say that anymore because of what Lance is doing. Leadership matters. Leadership matters. And the biggest difference maker over there is Travis Goff. If Travis Goff was the athletic director 20 years ago at Kansas, it'd be a whole new ball game in every sport. He's a go-getter. He's tenacious. He's a good man. He cares about the university. He cares about the athletes. Travis Goff is the game changer there. Believe me when I tell you that.
Mark, welcome to the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame. It's my privilege to be able to interview you, and congratulations.
Thank you. I went in for a new hip. They gave me a used one.
Congratulations, Coach, and yes, thank you for playing hurt today. Our next inductee is Kendrick Maple, a standout wrestler at Wichita Heights High School. He won 8 titles in 2008 and 2009. He'd go on to Oklahoma and be an undefeated NCAA champion in 2013. Like many athletes, he got into coaching. He's almost nailed every Big 12, Big 8 school. He's been to Oklahoma, Nebraska, and currently at Missouri. We'll allow that. And Kendrick still continued to wrestle, winning national titles in 2017 and 2022. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our next Hall of Famer, Kendrick Maple.
Kendrick, I think you're in the wrong place. You're far too young to be in this class of the Kansas Sports Hall. The little thing jumping up here right there on the horizon, don't do that.
Got it.
You're a Wichitan, I'm a Wichitan, congratulations. We got to stick together.
Yeah.
This is a K-State, KU heavy class, so. Tell us about wrestling. What was the motivation to go into that sport?
Well, the big motivation was I was getting too many fouls in basketball, too many penalties in soccer. I was a pretty rough kid, and so one day I was just sitting at school and someone brought a flyer into the school and said, hey, come out for wrestling. And so I'm like, yeah, I got to do it. Didn't know what it was. Saw like WWE and thought that was pretty cool. So took it home to my parents, and luckily they were amazing parents. Was like, sure, we'll try anything at this point to wear you out. And so that's what it did. It wore me out and got my energy out, and I was able to be a little better kid from it. So that kind of was the start.
And an amazing high school career at Wichita Heights that you turned into an even better collegiate career at Oklahoma. In 2013, you were an NCAA champion at 141 pounds, and you were undefeated. That's really amazing. So I told you when we spoke a little earlier that I really wanted you to go a little in depth on that season. Because being undefeated, I'm sure pressure built. Tell us about that. Were there matches you had that year that stood out to you? And was there building pressure as the wins accumulated?
Yeah, I think that year was a special year. I think most of the year is a little bit of a blur. I think all these amazing accolades, you guys can it's not those big moments, but just the people around you that you really remember. And so I remember my teammates, my family being there. I think the pressure part of it, especially for most of the year, it honestly wasn't there too much, because the year before, I remember losing at the Nationals and taking fourth, and I remember I was beating myself up, crying in the locker room like a little baby, and I kind of had one of those aha moments with God. I was kind of blaming him, like, man, I did everything right. Why didn't I get this? And then all of a sudden, God kind of gave me that slap in the back of the head like your parents do. My dad has given me a couple of times. That, hey, this isn't guaranteed, and there's something much bigger in life than just your wrestling. And so the year I went into the next year, I was just kind of wrestling free. Then at the national finals, of course, we're in the backstage, and all that pressure just seemed to come out of nowhere. I was like, wow, like, I'm getting a little nervous. Like, I got all them undefeated season I got to put on for the fans, all this kind of stuff. And like we said, the people, one of my coaches, Michael Leitner, he looks at me and he can see I'm getting nervous. I'm real tight, not acting myself. And he looks at me and he kind of goes, and he starts dancing. And I'm like, and it completely, I had the same response. I started laughing, and it kind of loosened me up, and was able to go out and win the national title. And it was just, the people around you that kind of know you and, lead you to those moments.
And you were a three-time Big 12 champion. What motivated you to go into coaching? Why was that the path?
It was definitely those moments, like I said, with that coach. I have churches here, the church family, and my high school coach was, an amazing mentor to me, and, I wouldn't be here without him, and that's something that, I couldn't not give that back, and it was an easy transition.
And wrestling is obviously still your passion. Where do you go from where you are? You're still a very young man. What do you see yourself doing, and is coaching so much a part of you that that's what you're going to do?
Yeah, I think that's the competitor in all of us. We just want to win and win at the highest level. So my goal is to go and coach a team to national titles and, do great things there, but more importantly, change the lives that are around me. I remember specifically, I lost a bet and had to wrestle at the U.S. Open and come out of retirement. My neck was feeling it, my back was feeling it, but I was able to go out there and wrestle and win, and I was able to give my coach Church a hug, and it was something that meant a lot to me, and it kind of reunited that fire too.
Does it bother you at all knowing there are people in this audience who hear that you are at Missouri now, and they don't like you? Does that bother you?
No, because we don't have wrestling, so we didn't have wrestling at KU or K-State, or else I definitely probably would have been. So the rivalry is there, but I'm on your guys' side.
Now you have a group right here that I'm sure you want to acknowledge, so take some time to do that.
Yep, I got my father here, who is instrumental in every part of my career, taking me every practice, every tournament, and never complaining, and never being a dad who was worried about wins and losses. That was truly special to me. He was just cared about if I loved the sport. And so that meant a lot to me. And then obviously my beautiful wife, you hear already the coach's wife life. It's not easy, and she's able to take care of our beautiful boys, Kiner and Cairo, and so love her. And to the church family, my my high school coach, and I'll try not to tear up here, but passed away recently of brain cancer, and you know, what he meant to me was truly special, and for them to be here is awesome. So.
Kendrick Maple, everyone. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Kendrick. What he didn't mention is that Coach Church and his wife named their son Kendrick, if I'm not mistaken, correct? And there's a reason for that. And I should also mention, Missouri is in the Big 12 in wrestling, right? Yes, they are. So, there. I don't know if that's good or bad, but it's part of it. Our next inductee is Bobby Randall. Growing up in Gove, Kansas, Coach Randall was a standout baseball and basketball player. He didn't play football because they didn't have a program. But he went to Kansas State on a scholarship for playing basketball and baseball, playing basketball for Bill Guthridge, and he got the $300 scholarship by proving he could dribble the ball behind his back. You go on to Kansas State, be all Big 8, and go on from there, be drafted by the Dodgers, play in the minors with the Dodgers, and then 5 years with the Twins in the major leagues. He finished his career coaching at Iowa State, University of Kansas, and Manhattan Christian College. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Bobby Randall.
So
Another error.
you're a baseball guy. I'm a baseball guy. I think it's compelling. Your career is compelling to me. You grew up in Gove, Kansas, which is not a big town.
No.
How many people lived in that community when you were there?
120.
120. And there were 12 in your graduating class,
That's right.
correct? You were drafted in the 55th round after your senior year of high school, but you didn't play high school baseball. You played Legion baseball, is that right?
No, we did have high school baseball. We just didn't have football, so we played high school fall ball and high school spring ball.
Okay.
We only played 8 games.
Okay. 55th round by a mutual friend of ours by the name of John Keenan,
That's right.
who was a baseball scout for the Los Angeles Dodgers, lived in Great Bend, and I got to know him at the National Baseball Congress. You did not sign out of high school. You went to K-State, and you really improved your lot in life at Kansas State. Tell us about the decision to go to K-State and the great career you had there.
Well, yeah, first of all, you have to thank God to have the talent to get drafted, but not so much it's only in the 55th round. So, yeah, that was a special time. I knew I wasn't prepared to play professional baseball. I felt like if I could go to college and play 3 or 4 years of baseball there, that I might be good enough eventually to be drafted again and play. And that's what happened. It was a great experience at Kansas State, and really college baseball is a much better game than professional baseball. As far as enjoying it, professional baseball is a job, and people ask me, is it hard? It's not hard. What's hard is being good at it. And that was what I did for 12 years, and then went into college coaching.
And you have a .371 career batting average at K-State, which is still number 2 all time. You were drafted in the 2nd round by the Dodgers, so you went from 55th round to 2nd round. Pretty good decision to go to school. And then you were traded by the Dodgers to the Twins, where you spent all 5 of your major league career, your seasons with the Minnesota Twins.
Yeah.
Tell us about that experience and some of the players you were playing with. You were a second baseman. At that time, I believe Rod Carew was playing mostly first base. So
Right.
you were an infield mate of Rod Carew. What was that like?
Well, it was amazing to watch a player with that kind of talent, that kind of God-given talent to play. And I think many of you remember him as a great player, how great he was. Yeah, that was an interesting time, going through the minor leagues, spending 7 years in the minor leagues, which is not usual, and then getting to the Twins, being traded. I was really behind a couple Kansas kids, Billy Russell and Davy Lopes, who played here at Washburn. Billy was in the same class as I was in, and he was from Pittsburgh. So I wasn't going to make that Dodger team. And it was just a gift from God to be able to be traded to the Twins and an opening at second base, and I made that team right at the end of spring training, and was fortunate enough to play 4 years there.
And when we visited last week, we talked about the one home run you hit in the big league. And it was in your first year.
Yeah.
And you were under the impression that the guy that was pitching was some rag arm guy that probably never got anybody out. But we looked him up, and he was actually a 14-game winner one year. And that made you feel better, didn't it?
Yeah, it made me feel better. I don't think it made him feel very good. I think that was a black mark on his career, but yeah. I did hit one, though.
And then your coaching career took you to Iowa State, where baseball didn't really have much of a history at all. You were able to build a program there. That came to an end, and you found yourself a K-State guy coaching at Kansas. That's a common theme with this class. How'd that work out?
Worked out great. You know, I was so fortunate to get that chance to coach at Iowa State, and then being a Kansas kid, it felt like coming home. In fact, one of the boys that I coached, Doug Dreher, is here with his dad from Hayes, and it was good to see him, and my secretary, Marcia Bagby, and Mike Hill was here. We were good friends, and I still have those cherished memories of coaching at KU. I'm a Kansas kid. It's always been important to me. And growing up in western Kansas, you learn to appreciate the beauty of it. And yeah, I love the time at KU. One of my best friends is here, Gary Kemp and Dorothy Kemp. Gary was the swimming coach there for over 20 years, and as soon as I got here, he took us under our wing, and yeah, it was really a special time.
And I do want to give you a moment to thank anyone that you haven't thanked yet. Are there people out there?
Well, thank you. You know, Bob, my first thought when Richard called me about the Hall of Fame was all I could think of was thanking God for the opportunity that He has given me and the talent that I had. Although, and you know, it was in my second year in the major leagues that we surrendered our lives to the Lord. You know, a lot of the things that happen, you know this, if you get behind the curtain in sports, whether it's coaching or playing, it's not what you think it is. It's not the magical life, it seems. You know, the first 10 years we were married, Libby and I moved over 30 times. It was just, that was what we did. And then, so when I got to KU, you know, Gary and Dorothy were just such dear friends. And so, you know, Libby, my wife, we all talk about our wives, but for 55 years she's put up with it. And it's been a great experience, and she's been the best. And my two daughters, Josie and Kelsey, are here along with their husbands, Charles and Jordan, and their two grandsons are back in Manhattan waiting for us. And then, you know, Libby's sister and her husband are here, and of course Gary and Dorothy and Corwin and Stan and Carla and my dear friends that are neighbors, C.D. and Shumay, and met so many friends here that I remember it's just great to be in this place. And I tell you, you know, God does amazing things in our lives. And in 1977, we chose that path, and it's been a great path, and I couldn't be more thankful. Thanks for asking me that question.
And before I congratulate you formally, I have to ask you, has anybody ever told you that you bear a striking resemblance to Mike Shannon?
I've never heard that one.
Harold, help me out.
Brad Pitt, yeah, but not Mike Shannon.
What?
Brad Pitt. But not Mike Shannon.
Him too.
Okay.
Ed, do you see it? I'm not crazy here. Well, congratulations, Bobby, on this great honor. Well deserved. Thank you for spending some time with us.
Oh, thank you very much.
Congratulations, Bobby. Our next inductee is Laverne Smith. Laverne was a 100 yards champion in the state of Kansas in high school at Wichita Southeast High School. Bill, where are you at? Southeast, all right. He went on to start him in both track and football at Kansas, still owns the 100-meter record at KU, and was the career rushing leader when he graduated. You might remember he was part of that backfield in 1975, which upset number 2 ranked Oklahoma 23-3 in Norman, Cromwell at quarterback, Derby's Billy Campfield at running back, Jerome Nellums at fullback, and Laverne. Laverne was later drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers, but had a severe leg injury, and it ended his career. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our next inductee, Laverne Smith.
First of all, it's great to see you. Our high school years corresponded. I was at Derby, you were at Southeast. You're one of the great all-time City League athletes in both football and track and field, and it's a well-deserved honor. Your time of 10.07 in the 100 meters still stands as the KU record all these years later, set 48 years ago. That's remarkable. What you accomplished in football was at least as impressive. At the time at KU, you established the single season rushing record, the career rushing record, the career 100-yard games record, and the season 100 yards game record as the tailback at Kansas. Tell us about that time. KU was such an interesting football team in those years. Jeff mentioned the win at Oklahoma, which still legendary, playing with Nolan Cromwell. What was that like, Laverne?
Well, basically, it was pretty tough because we had in 4 years, we had 2 new coaches, Then you changed the offensive coordinator. It was pretty hard, but that 1 year, though, we had the good team. We played Oklahoma. I never forget that game because that day we went to the game, the bus had a breakdown or something. We were late getting there, and when we showed up, the fans was saying, why did y'all show up, and all that stuff. And they kicked off, so we kicked off to them, and they kicked a 53-yard field goal, the first drive. And to me, that's disrespectful because they should have punted. So, and they never got no further after that. After that, I knew it was a good day because when you got the offensive line telling you, run my way, I'm blocking him, killing him, blocking him. I said, it's time to go now. When you got your offensive line telling you to run their way, it's a good day for the offense.
Yes, it was, and what an offense it was. I'm curious about your thoughts on Cromwell because he went on to play a long time in the NFL as a defensive back with the Los Angeles Rams, but at KU he was a dynamic running quarterback. So you had Cromwell, you had yourself. Jeff mentioned Billy Campfield, who was a classmate a year younger than me at Derby, but also an extremely fast runner. Just the 3 of you wreaked havoc.
Well, it was kind of hard for them to pick who they want to have the ball. So if they let Nolan have it, he can go. If they let Campfield go, he can go all the way. If I got it, I can run all the way. So that kind of made us, I think we was number 2 in the nation in rushing, and couldn't nobody stop us on offense. But like I said, it was tough because we had, when you change coaches, and it's tough when you get new coaches come in, and new offensive coordinator. But other than that, we had a good program.
And then you were obviously a very good basketball player as well, but track was really amazing for you. When did you start running track? And when did you know that you were faster than anybody?
Well, I kind of knew that when I was in elementary because I kind of hung out with my older brother, And my older brother used to always go play basketball, and he'd take out running. And he'd tell my mother, can't go no more, he can't keep up. After about a year, I started beating him, and he started cut that running out. So we started walking until we went in. We wouldn't run no more. So I kind of knew that back then. But track was, I wasn't the type of guy, I like track, but the training part. I wasn't often to running no 400 and 300 in practice. I feel like I'm only going to run 100 yards. That's why I'm running 400 in practice and all that. But I actually found out why it's important. Because when I went to the Olympic trials, you got to run hard every day.
Well, we got a guy coming up here in a little bit who ran the 400 pretty well. And when I asked him who was faster, I think he might have said it was you, but that you were a couple years younger. So talking about Cliff Wiley.
Yeah, Clifford, I was on a relay team with him. We had a good relay team. Matter of fact, we should have won the national championship that year on the relay team. But Clifford can run, though. That's his thing. I play football, but I help out in track. But Clifford is a track man.
So you made it to the Pittsburgh Steelers. You were drafted, and then unfortunately you suffered an injury. You broke your leg, and it limited what you could do in the NFL. I know that's kind of hung with you for many years because with today's medical advances, that would not have been the kind of injury that really halted your NFL career. It probably could have overcome that, but it was very difficult at that time.
Yeah, that's one of the toughest days in my life, I can say, because everything was set up for me perfect. I went to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I should have 3 Super Bowl rings. I think about it all the time. I was right there. I should have 3 Super Bowl rings, but just got injured. And that's the hardest thing for any athlete, to not be able to perform because of injuries. And right now today, I blame myself. What happened? I look back, I opened up, but it's nothing you can do about it. It's just part of life. But I've been blessed, though. I had a good career. I'm here, so that makes it feel good.
Absolutely, and this is where you belong. You had a remarkable athletic life. Who would you like to thank in the audience?
Oh, yeah, I got my 3 teammates played football with me in KU. Greg Jackson, Gary Lanston, Wayne Ricks, one of my closest teammates. I want to appreciate them for coming out for me. And back at my table sitting there, I got one of my best friends, Joe Johnson. Joe was with me when I was at KU, kind of helped me out, tutored me in classes and stuff. But I want to let him know I appreciate everything he did for me. And I finally got to meet his wife. and I got my wife here. I got my daughter. I got my son. I just want to tell y'all, I love y'all.
Good stuff. Laverne, thank you very much. Congratulations.
All right, thank you.
Laverne Smith.
Congratulations, Laverne. This day is all about connections. We've heard a lot of them. I should mention Laverne Smith Jr., back in the orange, played at Hutchinson Community College for Tim Jankovich. So a lot of connections. Our next inductee is Deb Field-Torneden. Deb was a state champion at Lindsborg High School, an 8-time Big 8 champion, and a Masters champion. In 1984, she was the outstanding female performer at the Big 8 Conference track meet. And in 2022, she was a Masters world record-setting 4x800 meter relay team. The truth is you have to be retired to make the Kansas Hall of Fame, but Deb's never going to retire. So here she is, Deb Torneden.
All right, there's a lot to talk to you about because you're still active, you're still out there doing what you do and enjoying it as much as you ever have. What keeps you going in running, Deb?
Oh, it's such a passion for me. I don't know if my family really still understands why I like to do it. I don't have to, but I love it. And God gave me these talents to use, and I want to thank Jesus, my Lord and Savior, for giving me those talents and just being able to go beyond what I'd ever ask or think.
And it's interesting to me that your husband is also a very high-class runner. And tell us how you met, and you're still running with him today. How does that work?
Yes, we met at Kansas State, and I thank Kansas State for letting me have the opportunity to run and race there. But yeah, Fred and I, we met there. He had an apartment across the street from me, and he would watch when I'd go out. This isn't stalking, but he would watch when I would go out, and then he'd try to catch me. And,
that sounds like stalking.
Yeah. But he finally did catch me, and we've been married 40 years, and such a support because now we can train together. We go to national meets together, and he was kind of my entourage with our two boys, Kyle and Miles there. They kind of go along for the ride, but you know, we ended up doing some fun things and adventures while we were out. We ended up at Disney World after a half marathon. I had blisters all on my feet, but you know, but it's such a adventure because he gets it. He knows what it takes to train to be a top athlete, and we do it together. And
Now,
we'll
do your
keep
boys,
going.
do your sons run?
No, they do not run. We have tried. Miles is a great swimmer, you know, and but no, they just never really got into it.
So I'm fascinated by our state and all the athletes that have come from Kansas, especially from the small towns. We talked about Bobby Randall from Gove. You're from a town comparable size,
Yep.
Phelan, Kansas.
Fallon.
Kansas,
Yes.
up around Lindsborg.
Yes.
You grew up on a farm.
Yes.
Now, if I'd grown up on a farm, I might have gotten into running just to avoid the chores.
No.
So what did farm life mean to you?
Well, you learn the hard discipline, and you know, you knew what it takes to be successful. And I learned that from my family. You could go around the square mile. So when you went out to run, it was pretty much 4 miles because you'd go out and run. My sister thought it would be good. We ran in the mornings. A few times my sister went out, the coyotes started yipping, and she's like, no more of this, you know. But my brother would ask me for the forecast when he'd go out before chores. And I had icicles hanging all over my little parka. This was before high-tech gear. And he'd ask me, well, how was it out there? I said, it's not bad, you know. He never asked me again what the weather was because every day was a good day to go run.
4-time All-American at Kansas State, 8-time Big 8 champion, the outstanding performer at the 1984 Big 8 Indoor. What did those years at Kansas State mean to you?
Oh, they meant the world to me. I went to K-State, I walked on, but it was a lot because my sister was there, and I got to be close to my sister and K-State. It was just such an honor to be able to represent K-State and wear the purple. Back then, when we got into, we were AIAW. We weren't even NCAA yet when I went to K-State. So I was in a lot of transitional movements for women's sports, even in high school when we had the Title IX. So it was such a new adventure, and we had some coaching changes, but I really grew as an athlete there and knew what training hard really was and where it was going to get me.
And unlike some of these inductees, you never became a traitor to K-State.
No.
Your loyalty.
Loyal.
Look at
I
you today.
bleed purple. Yes.
Sorry. Who would you like to thank at your table that you haven't already?
Oh, I thank my family for being here. And they've always supported me in what I do, and Fred, of course, and the boys. My mom passed away this week, and I just honor her And I'm so thankful that they came, even though it was a hard week. I know my mom is with me.
Very hard week, and we're sorry for your loss. Very much congratulations for this honor. I'm honored to go in the same class as you.
Yes.
Your accomplishments are incredible. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deb, and congratulations. Keeping with the track theme, we're on our second to last leg of the relay. Our next inductee is Clifford Wiley. Clifford was a 13-time All-American, an NCAA championship while running at Kansas, part of a world record 4x400 meter relay team in 1977, and a two-time U.S. track and field 400 meter champion. He is also a member of the 1980 U.S. Olympic team. Please welcome Clifford Wiley.
Clifford Wiley, a long list of athletic accomplishments in track and field. Just an incredible life as a trackster. I'm curious, Clifford, why did you settle on the 400-meter run as kind of your thing? Where did that happen? What was the genesis of that?
I'm not really sure that I settled on it. I ran the 100, 200 pretty much all of my career. After making the 200 at for the 80 team, I started law school. Did not want to be the guy who's getting a big build up and then get blistered on the track because I was not training that hard while in law school. So I ran the 400 kind of for fun, but I did run it some in high school.
And great success, obviously, so many national championships, an amazing career at Kansas, and then the 1980 Olympic team. You qualified for that team, and unfortunately that team did not go to Moscow because of some things that were going on at the time. One of many countries to boycott those Olympics. We talked at length about that, and your feelings about that on this day 45 years later.
You know, actually, sometimes I say that I'm just flat out and out bitter about it. But in athletics, we talk about wins and losses and medals and records and things of that sort. But we also need to keep things in perspective. My youngest brother, John Wiley, lost his sight at about 7 or 8 years. And he has gone on to not only earn his master's degree, but he's authored a book on accounting of all things. Sometimes you have to take your lemons and make your lemonade. And that's what my brother has done. And in many ways, he's my ultimate inspiration. That's kind of how I feel about the 1980 Olympic team. I mean, I've won 3 national championships. I've set a couple world records. I thought I had a pretty good career. But in reality, life sometimes deals you a blow that you're not ready for, but you have to deal with it.
What interested me in our conversation about that was that you certainly missed the opportunity to compete in the Olympics, but you told me that one of the things you regret most is not having the chance to walk into the stadium representing the United States.
Actually, I always considered marching into the stadium behind the flag to being the ultimate recognition of being on a national team. And whenever I got an opportunity, be it on the Washburn University games, on the Pan American Games team, or the World Cup Championships, I always volunteered to be in the parade. Although a lot of athletes says, hey, look, I'm going to conserve my energy and not do that. But I always felt that it was a good thing to do.
And then a very good, very valued and good career in the field of law. And you became involved in law during your year years at Kansas. What was that like?
Well, actually, I was involved in a lawsuit, Wiley versus NCAA. I see Judge Johnson back there, who Laverne Smith acknowledged, and I will acknowledge his professional credentials as one of our important jurists in this state at one time. I sued the NCAA while I was at KU because they didn't allow me to both have my full athletic scholarship and what's known now as a Pell Grant. They said I couldn't have both of them. And when I proceeded to take the money, they proceeded to declare me ineligible. That kept me from making the 1976 Olympic team because for most of the season I was ineligible. Laverne mentioned, let me tell you something. Laverne Smith wasn't just fast, he was really fast, okay? The reality is that Laverne only ran 1 year at KU. So for him to come out his last year and that 1 year be so fast, 10:07 is really fast, Laverne probably would have run under 10 seconds, which without the magic shoes that they have and the new tracks, that is really, really world class, okay? So that's how fast he is.
And before we let you go, you are still very involved in track and field, not only as a coach here in the Kansas City area, but also with a meet that you help organize, one of the largest meets in the country in Landover, Maryland. Tell us just a little bit about that.
Yeah, I'm one of the organizers of the International Youth Track and Field Championships, which we have every year. We're in our 6th year. It was an idea that I had always had of doing for, I think, 30 years. I put on the Cliff Wiley Track and Field Classic in Baltimore, but I always wanted to do this international meet. And so I started my meet where I was king for a day to join with a couple of other volunteers to put on what we call the IYC. And in the last 3 years, we've had athletes from as far away as Kenya, Bahamas, Bermuda, Trinidad, Cayman Islands, Jamaica, 36 teams, 35 states, as far away as California, Texas, all over the place. It's an event that we think that we're becoming the de facto world championships for youth track and field.
And before we finish, please take this opportunity to thank the people who are here with you today.
I'm accompanied here by probably the 2 most important people in my life, Dr. Brenda Lofton and our son, Professor Brent Wiley. They are my relay team, and clearly intellectually I'm the slow leg on that team. Our anchor is Brenda, and thank God for Amazon, because I don't have to walk through shopping malls and be stopped every other step with somebody saying, "Oh, Dr. Lofton, you delivered me," or "Dr. Lofton, you operated on me, and here's my child," and on and on and on. So they're the winning relay team. We're undefeated. Also with me today at my table are 5 young men. I call them the Fantastic Five. They are athletes of mine at Bishop Ward High School. 4 of them were on the state winning 3A 4x1 relay. One of them is heading to college this year. Extremely proud of him. And I suspect that all 5 of them someday will be sitting on this stage being inducted into the Kansas Athletic Hall of Fame.
Thank you, Clifford Wiley. Congratulations on this honor.
Congratulations, Clifford. Well, bringing it home, our last inductee is Larry Brown. He only played 2 years of high school in his youth, and with limited opportunities, he got on a train and headed to Dodge City, Kansas for the opportunity to play football. but he had to prove it first. He had to try out. He not only made the team, but earned a scholarship to go to Kansas State. We had an outstanding career there. Selected by the Washington Commanders, or did you call them the Redskins back then? Redskins, okay. Drafted by the Redskins in the 8th round of the NFL draft. He answered all doubters, leading the NFL in rushing in 70 and 72, and league MVP in 1972. Ladies and gentlemen, our final Hall of Fame inductee, Larry Brown.
Larry Brown, welcome. It's an honor to meet you.
Thank you.
I would like a show of hands of everyone who's played for Vince Lombardi. Would you please raise your hands? I think you're the only one. Your NFL career was remarkable. So was your career at Kansas State. We'll get to all that, but I want you to tell the story of finding your way to Kansas from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, to play junior college football at Dodge City. That's not a likely path for a lot of people. Tell us what your reaction was.
My reaction
When you got off the bus
train in Dodge City.
in Dodge City. Oh, you were on the train.
Yes, my father worked for the Pennsylvania Railroad, so he orchestrated, he was responsible for getting a ticket for me to get to Dodge City. But Dodge City was an interesting experience. When I got off the train, I looked up and saw Gunsmoke Avenue and Wyatt Earp Hotel, and I said, what have I done?
Well, little did you know that was the first move on embarking on a real journey that took you to places I'm sure you could never have imagined. You were able to turn that into a scholarship at Kansas State. You played on a really good team there with Lynn Dickey as the quarterback. Vince Gibson was the head football coach.
Yes.
Mac Heron was in that backfield. And even though that team stumbled a little bit, at one time in that season in 69, you were ranked. Tell us about the experience at K-State.
Well, I enjoyed my experience at K-State because that was the beginning of a good career in football. And so I met a lot of people, interesting people, and they played a very important role in my life, especially Vince Gibson.
Yeah, that was 1968. And then you went on to the NFL. And what a run you had there. The leading rusher in the NFL in 1970 and 1972, the MVP of the league in 1972, a four-time Pro Bowler. Just an incredible career that you had with the Washington Redskins, and that's where Vince Lombardi came into play. That's where George Allen came into play. Two of the most legendary coaches in the history of that league. You played for them. What were they like?
Well, Vince Lombardi was obviously the one that I dreaded the most. He was very, very tough, and he had this tendency of pointing his finger in your face when he spoke to you. Mr. This, Mr. that. He said it so many times to me, I thought my first name had changed to Mr. But he was very, very tough. George Allen was equally as tough. He had the experience. He had long practices, but he held, what was good about him is that if you crossed him, he'll eventually get you he'll cut you from the team with no notification. But he was a good coach. Both of them were very great coaches.
And when we talked last week, we talked about your journey to the NFL and how it was really perseverance and hard work that led you to this success. And I think it's a great message for people to hear. You took nothing for granted. You had to really earn everything you got. Where did that attitude come from with you, Larry?
I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, so it was not a Beverly Hills. So it was a difficult challenge, and that's where I got the nerve to defy everyone that I ran into that caused me problems. And that occurred a lot at RFK Stadium. I never had any talent. I had never had any talent, but you had so many people chasing me, but I don't think I had any talent. But somewhere along the way, I played the game the way it should have been played by many folks. And I'm fortunate that things turned out right.
And you've got a fan back here in a Redskins jersey. Would you stand up and... I don't believe anybody's wearing a Bob Lutz jersey, correct? Am I right about that? So congratulations on that. It speaks to the mark you made with that franchise now more than 50, 55 years ago. How enjoyable was it to play in the NFL in Washington in those years?
It was very enjoyable. The fans were great. And, we had a situation one time where not Vince Lombardi, but George Allen gave the right to the president, I think it was President, I can't remember his name, but the president at the time, but he gave the president Nixon, I think it was Nixon, the right to call a play. It was the worst play I ever experienced. I said, who called this play?
And then not only, we talked a lot about your football career, but you had a long and successful career in the business world too. You have to be as proud of that, I would imagine, as you are of your playing career.
Yes, I did. I went to work, I retired in 1976, and then I went to work for E.F. Hutton, major brokerage firm. After that, I went to work for another company which was very instrumental in my growth, Xerox Corporation. I was the business and community relations manager. And then I got into commercial real estate. So I've had a very successful run, and I'm very pleased when I look back on it, I'm very pleased to note that it went very well.
And I know you have a table full of supporters here that you want to thank, so please do that.
Oh, yeah. Henry Dyer was with the Redskins when I was playing. He was a running back. And we had an interesting group called the Runners. It was a singing group. And Charlie Haraway was the other runner. And we were so good that the owner came up to us one day and said, here's a check, take this check. This check is
to prevent you from playing any music or singing anymore. So Joe Palmore is a good friend of mine. He took down my mailbox one day. John Walker was the quarterback at Kansas State when I was there. And his wife, Sandy, is right next to him. My daughters, Lauren, Stan, Yvette, Tanya, and Christy is my caregiver, let me put it that way. But, you know, I've enjoyed you all. You all have made my life very, very wonderful. Love you too.
Well, thank you very much. Congratulations for this well-deserved honor. It's great to get you back in Kansas for a little bit, and hopefully we'll talk to you again soon, okay, Larry?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for inviting me back.
I want to thank everybody for coming. And I want to thank you for the role you played, whatever it was, in these honorees' lives. Family member, spouse, coach, teammate. We heard all those in those stories today, and that's great.
Presentation of the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame Induction Ceremony is brought to you in part by.
At NextTech, we're about connecting and providing the best solutions to help the communities that we serve thrive. Now, after more than 70 years, we continue growing to serve you. We are community, we are connectivity, we are NextTech.